Hey everybody, welcome back to Northernlion, please. Kerbal Space Program, where we are slowly working our way towards Doudna and our satellite network. I mean, I'm not going to say it's looking nice because I really have no idea whether or not it's looking nice, but let me tell you what frightens me. We have a satellite in orbit of Minmus, do we not? We did at one point. This is Minmus. Do I just have to get on, like, a much... Because, like, this is the moon. This is Minmus. Yeah, okay, so I have two satellites in orbit of Minmus, apparently. Or, wait, this is somebody else's satellite. Plus Samland's shipwreck. What worries me is why is the satellite at Minmus not connecting with the satellites that are out here? Is that actually too great of a distance from here to here? Because if that's the case, well, dude, we're going to freaking Doudna. So we're going to need a satellite out in, like, much greater orbit than this. But I suppose for now, the time has come for us to try to fly an unmanned ship to Doudna to see if we can actually make this happen. So I hope that we saved it with a sensible name. Was it Aquemini that flew to Doudna? This is never getting to Doudna. What are you talking about here? Please tell me I named it, like, Doudna. Damoon. 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 Doudna attempt Mark 1. Okay. Load this bad boy up. This must be it. So again, this is probably a little bit overkill in terms of the amount of, I mean, rockets and also struts and also et cetera is attached to it. But get this piece of trash out of here. Get it out of here. We don't want this. This is so unlikely to ever return. We want the Octo? I can't remember. Requires electric charge. Requires electric charge. Far beyond its sleek six-sided futuristic. I'm thinking like whatever one is the most expensive. Is there any way to just see how far? Oh, it cannot transmit science. Cannot transmit science. So we do need to apply a relay antenna to it. I just wanted to see if there was like a way to see which one is further ahead. I'm assuming the Octo is further ahead than the Hex because it's got more sides. I don't know if that's true. I'm kind of trying to infer it. Like, remote pilot assistance available? Yes. Hibernation mode resource rates 0.01% or 0.01x. 0.01x requires more electrical charge. Like exactly the same antenna stats. Cannot transmit science. Cannot transmit science. I actually have no idea. Electric charge, amount 10. Electric charge, amount 10. SAS, prograde and retrograde hold. SAS, stability assist. So maybe the Hex is actually the newer one. So we need, well, first off, we need to, like, activate the ship. Excuse me? Why is this becoming a problem now? What have I done? I've, like, broken Doudna attempt. Do not save this. Don't save. Open. Doudna attempt Mark 1, please. Load. 2-1 drop on Stenoma. And then can I just, like, stick this, you know, just... Tell you what. Check this out. We're gonna break the system. We're gonna apply it right here. And we're gonna dump this piece of trash. I recognize that this breaks it temporarily, and I do understand why. It just annoys me. Why can't you place... Is it like can't be the first piece? Why is it that the Probodyne Hex can't be the first piece? I'll tell you what. Let's start a new one. Do not save. That can be a first piece. This can also be a first piece. Why does it not work for... Okay, you know what? That's fine. We wasted a ton of fuel on our last one, so we're just going to basically copy the construction of our previous one. I apologize for the failed augmentation here. But essentially, this is a service bay. I'm actually writing this down on a piece of paper, hilariously enough. We do want it to have science, so... Oh! How do I live on planet Earth? Just dropping stuff left, right, and center here. Okay, so it goes like... Module. Like, well, let's say command with an antenna. Should probably talk into the microphone on top of it. And then a service bay, which contains science and presumably batteries. Then, I believe we've got like 5 fuel tanks or 7 fuel tanks. And what kind of engine is this? It's a skipper. Okay. So then I'm just going to call it like lander with skipper. Then below that, we've got another like double fuel tank setup. This one has a skipper, as every single one of my rockets ever does. And then 5, so 2 fuel plus skipper. And then 5 NASA boosters, which is what I'm calling them, because I don't remember the name. 5 NASA boosters. Okay. We could probably just save these as subsystems, and that would also work fine, but we're going to build it from the ground up. So don't save. Let's start here. A little bit of like later into the episode for the start than I wanted, but that's, you know what? That's me playing Kerbal Space Program in a nutshell. So we put the hex up there because it's got better unmanned control options through process of elimination. This is going to be Doudna attempt unmanned. Mark 1. Now, if this doesn't work, I'm going to be an unhappy boy. On top of this, well, maybe not on top of it, but like at some point on the ship, we want to have the relay antenna. So I don't think there's any reason it needs to be on the top now that I think about it. But can we put like a little bit of aerodynamic on this? Like, this is probably overkill. Is there like a little? There we go. Small nose cone. Small nose cone. It looks fine. Okay, so what came after this? We should be able... We have no intention of ever getting this back to Earth. This is really just going to get in orbit or even just do a flyby of Doudna. So we're going to put... I think we should really put a Science Junior on it, which actually does require an adapter. There we go. And then a service bay, which is in payload. Yes. That's too big. I mean, we could go for the big service bay right off the bat, but might not strictly be necessary. And then inside here, we need to put electrical charges. So probably 2 rechargeable batteries is a pretty standard choice. By the way, I hope that if you're watching this, like, you might be invested in the progress that I'm making, but also, if it works, it works. Also, I hope you're kind of watching this as part of your routine. You know, not just necessarily will he or won't he make it to Doudna, but more like, hey, I'm going to watch NL mess around in Kerbal Space Program for a little bit. Maybe it's not going to be perfect. Maybe it is going to be perfect, but it probably won't be perfect, is my guess. But you're at this point, if you're still watching, I think you're committed to enjoying that, and I appreciate that you appreciate that, so thank you. I'm going to put 4 monopropellant tanks on here, even though 4 is probably too many. And the reason that I'm going to put them on like this, you might be looking at this and going, what are you doing? I'm going to put some aerodynamic fairing around this section. So even though right now it looks horrendous, and you're going to look at this and go like, this thing's never going to fly. I think it will, once we have the fairing. So, to be honest with you, we don't really want any fuel on this. Well, actually, that's not true. We do want some fuel on this final stage. So, this is where maybe this thing has gotten a little too heavy, but it is what it is. So, We'll put 3 of these bad boys on. And I think we have to... If we've got a skipper for our final stage, the skipper is so huge that this is not going to function right. So let's just, for now, throw a smaller engine like a Reliant or probably a swivel because it gimbals. Throw a swivel on the middle, which also will not land. Okay, throw a Terrier on it. Sure, this thing's heavy, probably too heavy to justify. We're really just building it like this at the present moment for the idea that it could, in the future, land. It's less modifications to make in the future if we ever want to get this to land. But for now, like, I'm still open to criticism, of course, but, like, we've been building rockets that have done what we've wanted them to do for a while now. So, I think that I roughly understand the theory for the most part. So the next step is we're going to need a decoupler, of course, so get the decoupler going. And then we're going to need an adapter, which is in structural, and because we're going to go to the Rockomax brand stuff now. But actually, just before we do this, we might want to throw in, as our final step, an Airstream protective shell. And we actually don't want this to be down here. That's my bad. We want this to be right here. I'm just hopeful that we can even spread it far enough to cover the satellite. I mean, I think that it'll get the job done. Just let me place it, please. Oh, I'm trying not to click on the flag. Please cancel. Okay, so, you know, that's obviously, like, extremely aerodynamic. It looks stupid, but I think it will get the job done. Even though it looks like we're launching, like, literally the Space Needle. But sure, okay, so we got this. And then we were going, like, fuel tanks. So we were, I think, 2 of these with the skipper, which we could probably turn into a mainsail if we wanted to. Also, keep in mind, we want to put these RCS thruster blocks on here. Like so. Just to help us stay steady. I'm still always amazed when the ship even flies. So I will continue to be amazed if it actually flies on this one. But let's dream big. Rockomax brand decoupler. And then usually, I think at this point you probably know the way that this goes at the end. We take these NASA boosters, which is not their real name. And we take these because they're simple. And clean is the way that you're making me feel tonight. It's hard to let it go. Grab some radial decouplers, and we actually almost understand how to use these now. We make sure that first they will connect, and then we grab engines, make sure we're clicking on the booster. And actually, like, for a first crack, this is really pretty much what we were looking for. We'll put some nose cones on it. Get the fuel tank set up. Like so. And then probably you just want to duplicate it. Set it down, open up shop. Remove the fuel lines. I just want to make sure you're connected to the decoupler. And I'm being honest when I say that I don't think you are. So I'm actually going to try to do this a different way because we've done this a million times. And I'd say about 900,000 of those times it has not worked. And we've had to come back. And coming back is the cardinal sin. So there you go. It's not symmetric at all. But it will be. Yeah. More or less. I don't... Well... No, not more or less. Actually... Oh... actually not at all, because these are not equipped on the right axis to begin with. So you want them more like that, actually. As weird as that looks, I sort of think this is right. And you know what? It wouldn't be a Northernlion rocket design without like a little weirdness associated with it. So the final step, as you know, is these feed into these, and you're good. And then we have many things that we have forgotten several times in the past. One of them is winglets, which we will place thusly. And I think it also benefits you to have winglets, even though it might seem unnecessary, on the outer edges of these things. Man, this thing is weird. It just is not right. We also need, or would like, some launch stabilizers. And then the final step is making sure that all these engines fire at the right time. So all these come down here. Hopefully at this point we're getting pretty good at this part. These ones pop first, that's correct. These ones pop next, that's correct. These ones pop then, these ones pop. Okay, yeah. All right, Doudna unmanned, Mark 1. We have the relay antenna, so it should be able to receive transmissions for a wider distance, or a longer distance rather. And we have RCS ports. I think that this, on first glance, this appears like it'll work. And we do have Doudna roughly in the right position. Whether or not I'll be able to make the flight work, I have no idea. But we're gonna try. Too fast. But that's a good sign. The fact that this thing takes off like a shot, I think, is very positive for our future here. Got a lot of things to worry about. Do we have enough fuel, for example? I'm amazed that it was actually like aerodynamic enough to just sort of take off. So I think already we've gotten pretty lucky here, and the gravity turn is appropriate so far. It doesn't like turning that quickly. I think that's fair. Maybe turn on RCS just for a minute. Not a perfect ship. The gravity turn is not as smooth as we've had recently in a lot of situations. I think we can afford to use probably like half of our monopropellant to stay relatively steady at launch. Just as a ballpark figure. Alright, so it looks like it's staying relatively steady. Step 1, as always, is a circularized orbit. So we're going to continue to rise here. Once we get out of the choppy air. We still have not popped any of our engines, by the way, which I think is a great sign. Oh, Jesus. Yeah, we're starting to get out of the heavy air. So just as a general marker, usually around 30,000 feet, I will pop the Airstream fairing. Did I not set these up properly? The fuel tanks, that is. So you were temporarily looking like you were on fire there, which is freaking me out a little bit. Apoapsis is fine. So do a couple things here. First, deploy the Airstream fairing. Now, look at this majestic creature. Turn off the monopropellant. Add a maneuver where you burn prograde. Periapsis 92, apoapsis 147. Periapsis 95, apoapsis 151. Periapsis 94, apoapsis 107. I can live with that. Please get yourself acquiesce to the maneuver node, please. It seems to me like all three of these fuel tanks are going to run out of fuel at the same time, which actually indicates that, and you're gonna not be a big fan of this, that we put them on the compiler wrong. And by compiler, I mean decoupler. Sorry, been programming a little bit recently. It's a programmer thing. You wouldn't understand. I'm still going to give this one the old college try, but if it fails, I feel like I do owe you a revised launch, because I mean, at this point, we shouldn't be messing up the decoupler problem. At the same time, I also feel like the decouplers shouldn't be this janky to use, but a lot of people in the comments have said, NL, they're not that janky to use. But I respect that the Kerbal interface is not always perfect as well. That's all I ask. As long as both Kerbal Space Program and I are guilty, I'm okay with it. So we're definitely, we're not going to have 19 seconds left of fuel, or 21 seconds. So we're not going to get into a circularized orbit in all likelihood on our first attempt here, but it's plausible we might have a shot at still making it to Doudna, potentially. So we should start burning basically right now. So, this step is basically not supposed to be used to get us into orbit. It's supposed to be used for the interplanetary injection. So we're probably burning maybe 40% of our fuel before we want to do so. Obviously not good. I don't know how much of that is going to be alleviated by proper asparagus staging via, Condios? No, but via actually, having our fuel tanks attached to the decouplers. I know that sounds like a novel concept. 4, 3, 2, 1, and 0. X, decent maneuver. Okay, 87, 133. Not perfect, obviously, but I can live with it. So the next step is to try to get to Doudna. And we're still roughly, I think, in the position we want to be in. We need to try to, well, first off, set it as a target. And then, obviously, one big step here is burning prograde until we get a trajectory that even comes close, right? So, just come out here. Here's our escape. We're not close at all right now. Burn retrograde for a minute. To be honest with you, there's going to be like a little bit of playing around here to try to figure out whether or not it's plausible that we can do this. So I think the first things first. If we can get our descending node. This is going to be a heavy maneuver fuel-wise. I'd like to change my focus as well. When we're here, it's going to be here. We don't want that. Which means we either need to go faster or we need to aim differently. So I'm thinking... descending node here. Again, this is what I will ask for like the most amount of patience with, because this is a bit cumbersome. Especially like right now, we're on like a very small scale thought process. You know, we're looking at kids' toys trying to get out to outer space here. No, don't close that off. Okay. Start doing it a little closer here. Add maneuver. I mean, we're gonna be at periapsis in 4 minutes, so we kind of gotta be a little on the faster side here. Do you see what I see? Target position, us. Slow down. Slow down, slow down. We might get an encounter accidentally. We do get an encounter accidentally. Encounter. Can I see this, please? Encounter. Escape. 232.8. Give me a second here. Escape. 230 days. I mean, it's a long time. 2 hours, 7 minutes. But what do we care? It's a robot. And the encounter, 226. 5 hours, 30 minutes. So we'll have 4 days in orbit or 4 days in contact with Doudna. So all we need to do is hit this maneuver, which we should be doing right now. And this is actually one where it's very important that we be on time. Do we have a minute worth of fuel left in this thing? Yes. Yes, we do. So we're going to be a couple of seconds late on the burn. Hopefully not a catastrophe. We can always do some finer adjustments once we get close. But even essentially putting a satellite in orbit of Doudna that can transmit science, and it can transmit science because of the relay antennas. I think that will be like a milestone, dude. And by the way, to do this in one maneuver, I recognize, is probably an example of us getting extremely lucky. So I'm just using our RCS to keep us very, very level with this maneuver node. I don't want to deviate from it at all, because we've already probably deviated from it more than we should have. Three, 2, 1, 0. Okay, let's look. We don't quite have it is Doudna. I was looking at this like it was Minmus. I was losing my mind. So we don't quite have an encounter, but I'm sure that here, if we add a maneuver, just sort of play around with it a little bit, we can make it happen. Like that, for example. We only encounter it for like an hour there, which is not good. Well, you should try to make these changes closer to periapsis. Give me a moment. That's not making it better. You're meeting it faster. Jewel escape? No. Look, I understand where you're coming from. That's not what we're doing this episode. I mean, one thing you might want to do is just at the descending. Oh, dude, we're on the orbital plane. We don't need to mess with that. This is tough because, like, I think we want to do the maneuver closer to the descending node, actually, so we don't mess with the fact that we're on the orbital plane. Oh, we have the world's smallest encounter. No, we don't? This is what's killing me, dude. Like, okay, maybe we're better off just having a small encounter. Than no encounter at all. You're telling me, like, this misses. How? Sway. Are you seeing, like, how close together these are? Separation by 1,000,000 kilometers? Hear me out here. I know it's, like, probably annoying. I think that's fine, as long as we figure it out. I think we actually need to lower our orbit a little bit. Clearly, I am a fool. What we need to do is raise our orbit a little bit. Nah, dog. You got it all wrong. Descending node minus 0.1. Okay, what you got to do is you got to tweak your trajectory this way. Oh, we got it. Encounter and escape. We got about an hour and a little bit. Considering our burns tend to be about, you know, a millisecond in length, this doesn't seem that bad. We got to do a 12-second burn in 2 months. So if this works, I'm going to feel pretty good. What I am worried about is just getting, like we're going to get too far away from Kerbin to be connected to any satellites. Because we're too far away to have a direct connection with the Space Center, and we're still pretty close to Kerbin. Like, actually really close to Kerbin? Or no, wait, is this our distance of, I don't know, it doesn't matter. Okay, so just keep yourself here. We're going to go forward in time. Don't use all your monopropellant, ideally. We're going to go forward in time until our next maneuver. That scared me, the speed at which that was. So what we're looking for, yep, that's what I was worried about. No probe control. So clearly, we were engaged in like a Sisyphusian endeavor here. We need a satellite further away, or perhaps more accurately, we just need to take a pilot along with us. So I think we'll try a piloted mission next time. Sadly, this episode, I wouldn't say it's for naught, but with this thing just sort of adrift in space, I don't know if there's anything else we can really, you know, do with this at this point. Truth be told, we could revert to launch and get our money back, or we could also launch a satellite maybe around Kerbin, and I don't know, at this point I'm just sort of like hoping eventually we get control of it again. I think we'll try exactly the same mission on our next episode, but we'll use a pilot. So I apologize for, at least in a broad sense, sort of wasting your time here, but I'm also very pleased with the fact that we got a little bit of practice in making our maneuver nodes work properly here. Still kind of, what do you mean locked? Oh, wait. Do we have to turn these on maybe to make it happen? Because, like, oh, we can't open it or turn the antennas on because of the fact that I see. Okay, wait. Revert flight, revert to launch. Is there maybe, like, I didn't extend the antenna? You got to activate them? I don't believe so, but we want to figure it out, you know? Like, it's the easiest way to test. No, it's not going to change it. Okay, so next episode we're going to do probably, like, a very similar thing, except this thing's already built. So we'll actually just go like revert flight, revert to vehicle assembly. And we're going to take off. Well, tell you what. Cut that out. Cut that out. Cut that out. Cut this out. Get rid of this. No, don't do me like that. Grab Mark 1-2 command pod. And we'll just fix this so we're, like, exactly good to go on the next episode. You know what? I think we actually almost have to use the Mark 1 to fit with our design more easily. Please let me, like, to grab that little... Yeah, thank you. Okay. Boom. 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 And then, like a boom. And then, can I edit fairing? Yeah, this doesn't look right. Delete fairing. Dude, well done. That being said, might like to have a parachute on this thing, you know? Maybe not like that. I know we're using the old school style here, but hey, yeah, like that sort of looks right. Edit fairing. If it's worth doing right, man. There you go. It's still hideous. But we can now put a pilot in this thing. And the benefit of having a pilot, hey, they don't need to be on, you know, the satellite network to get anything done. The downside, hey, they're probably going to die on Mars. But hey, thanks for watching. I hope you guys have enjoyed the episode. If you did, click the like button. It helps out a great deal. And of course, subscribe if you want to see more in the future. But for now, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.